savings as a category. We're joined by Prableen Bajpai, founder of FinFix Research and Analytics. Prableen, great having you as always. Thanks for joining in. Can I start off with understanding from you whether you believe it's a good category to invest in and for what kind of investors? Because it's certainly seen significant uptick in inflows or AUM in the last 12 months. So who should subscribe to this category? What funds within the equity savings space do you like and why?
Good afternoon, Neeraj. Absolutely. Almost, I think, 10 to 11,000 crores of additional AUM that we've seen in the last 1 year. And that is primarily because of the taxation change that we saw in the Union Budget of 2023. Having said that, I think equity saving schemes is a great category for those investors who can have some exposure to equity and they understand that there would be downsides to it as well. Have a horizon of say 2 to 4 years. So they don't want to go all out into equity. And if you're staying in debt or fixed income, it's not very lucrative post-tax. So for a person who's in the higher tax slab, has this sort of a time horizon of 2 to 4 years, 2 to 3 years, and can understand equity, I think it's a great category to be in. And the returns, of course, what we've seen across the category over the 10-year period, if we look at the rolling returns, which they've averaged about 8.5 to 10% on 2-year, 3-year, and 1-year rolling return basis over a 10-year time period. So broadly, I think, from with the post-tax return that we can get from this category, it's a good, it can be a good addition, but like I was listening to Surup, he said that, the objective has to be very clear when you're investing. If you do have that kind of a goal in mind, you need to park money. Yes, this category can be considered. And within this category, some of the funds, I would go with the more credible names who can manage equity and the debt component very well as well, because a decent part is in debt as well. So arbitrage, equity, and debt, it's a combination of the three. So, for example, ICICI, they're slightly conservative. They're currently holding about 15% in equity. We have fund houses like SBI, Mirai, HDFC. I think these are the credible names to go with.
Okay. Prableen, thanks for that advice. Now, there are people who've sent in some queries. Prableen, I'd love for you to try and help some of our viewers who've asked this. So the first query is coming in from Rahul. His age is 21 years. He's saying that he wants to create a retirement fund, I presume, because he's invested about 15,000 through SIP in ICICI Prudential Nifty 50, 5,000 in Quant PSU thematic as lump sum, wants to retire by 40 years, when he's 40 years old, and accumulate a retirement corpus of 5 crores. Now, his question is, what funds should he invest in? I presume the other question should simultaneously also be, what kind of money should he invest into some of these funds? Probably any thoughts here?
Right. So first, I'll just break down the SIP allocations which are there for him. So Rahul is currently investing a big sum of 15,000 into the index fund, which is a great start. And then he has 5,000 in the Quant thematic fund, the PSU segment. So I would recommend that if he has to invest this 20, he can diversify that 15 into 2 other schemes. One would be the mid cap index and one would be a small cap fund. So the overall 20,000 will be 5,000 each into the large cap index, the mid cap index, active small cap fund, and the thematic fund. With this 20,000, Neeraj, in the time period that he has mentioned, if we are assuming 12% XIRR, which is, I think, on the conservative side, he can create about 1.6 crores in the next 19 years. And if he's able to do a 10% step up, so if he can incrementally increase his investments by 10% each year, he can create a corpus of more than 3 crores, about 3.2, 3.25. But having said that, Neeraj, if he's looking to sort of take early retirement or probably retire from active work life and start something of his own, it would be really essential that he has the money to sustain himself at that time period. So the actual requirement of the corpus must be dependent on the kind of expenses that he's going to have over a period of time. And this 5 crore, if we, sort of discount with the inflation, it would be equivalent to roughly 1.6 crores of today. So that is something that he must factor in.
Okay, so just to make it clear, what's the quantum of money that you, Prableen, do you believe he will have to put in every month additionally?
So overall, he has to put about 60,000 a month
Exactly.
to achieve that corpus of about 5 crores.
Got it. I hope, Rahul, you got that, because money doesn't grow on trees, return doesn't come just like that. You got to put money to work. That's the first advice from Prableen. Very quickly, Prableen, the second query is from Prasanna. Prasanna is age 29 years. He's preparing for children's education, and he says that his wife and he buy 1 gram of gold every month as an investment. He deposits 3,000 per month at an annual interest of 9.85 in a cooperative bank, and wants to invest about 5,000 per month in mutual funds. What kind of funds would you recommend? Sorry, probably I can't offer you his risk profile, but he doesn't seem to be wanting to know what quantum of money, but he seems to be wanting to know how does he invest 5,000 within the mutual fund arena.
Right. First of all, Neeraj, I love this idea of 1 gram of gold. I'm going to suggest this to my husband that please buy me this 1 gram. This is really interesting. Having said that, you don't actually allocate physical gold towards goals. So that has to be understood. So whatever they are buying would probably be used for the marriage of the child instead of education, because I don't think that they would go out and sell physical gold. Coming to his goal, so education inflation in India is around 10 to 12% the inflation, and which is a very high ask, Neeraj. So if you're investing in any fixed income product, your real returns to achieve your education goal are actually in negative. But if he is wanting to go with this 5,000, and if we are assuming 12% XIRR, he would be able to gather about 24 lakhs in the next 15 years. Again, with a small increment, 10% STP, he can gather about 42 lakhs. I would really recommend that 15 lakh college fee of today would be about 65 lakhs if you're assuming roughly 10.5-11% inflation. So he must increase his allocation towards equities, and maybe the 1 gram gold can actually be reduced to a little lesser, and say about 8,000 can be allocated towards the SIP. Then he can generate, with a 10% step up, a 66 lakh corpus in 15 years. I'm assuming 15 years. We don't have the time period actually.
But a fair assessment as well. So, in some sense, a fairly realistic answer. And I hope, Prasanna, that you assess Prableen's response to the investment patterns that you currently have and change them in some fashion, as Prableen has advised, so that you can reach your goal in a more effective fashion. Prableen, on that note, we are out of time, but thank you so much for taking the time out and being with us on the Mutual Fund Show. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Neeraj. My pleasure.
And viewers, thanks for tuning into this leg of the Mutual Fund Show.